everybody, welcome to episode 8, Horror Parodies. Today I'm taking over the show. Well, for the most part. And that's because I have a sense of humor, folks. Josh, on the other hand, doesn't. Josh doesn't like comedies. So, I'm in charge. And he's going to have little to nothing to say about anything. But that's okay. We're going to talk about parodies because everybody's talked about Christmas movies. We don't want to do that. And this is coming out on Christmas Day. And by this point, you probably want to punch a family member in the face. So we're hoping that watching some parodies will lighten the mood and make you not want to go to prison for the day. So what is it about comedy that you don't like, Joshua?
It's not that I don't like comedy. I just don't want comedy to be used in a certain way when it comes to horror. Like, here's the thing, like, I'm cool with horror comedies, obviously, or horror that has elements of comedy in it, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But parody really doesn't do anything for me. Like, I just don't understand, like, the Scary Movie franchise.
Yeah.
I don't understand the appeal of it at all. Like, not at all.
He also doesn't like movies like Airplane. I mean, Spaceball's okay.
I like Spaceballs.
But not, you wouldn't go and watch it 40,000 times like I have.
No.
Or any other parody, horror or not, except Naked Gun.
Well, yeah, Naked Gun's the exception to the
reason.
rule. There's something, I don't know, Leslie Nielsen.
Well, Leslie Nielsen's an Airplane.
I know, and that's why I will put up with Airplane anytime you put it on. Because I like Leslie Nielsen.
You see what I'm saying?
There's exceptions to everything, and yeah, I would say for sure the first Naked Gun. So the sequels are
Yeah, no.
But that first Naked Gun, oh yeah, I would sit and watch that anytime for sure.
So you see the problem here. There's no humor in horror for this man.
No, I mean, there's certain things I hold sacred. Horror would be one of them. It's like the same thing with like metal. I don't want funny metal really either. You know what I mean? For the most part.
Macabre.
Well, okay, there's exceptions to every rule. But I'm just saying, for the most part, I don't want humor mixed in with it.
Ailstorm.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. Like I said,
see?
There's exceptions to every rule, for sure.
He's picky.
But those like 2 bands out of, however many that I like.
So this is a problem that was passed on to Joshua by his mother. Hi, Denise. Where they just don't like comedies. Thankfully, her boyfriend does, so him and I have something in common as the outsiders. So today I picked a couple movies that Josh has in fact watched, but only once in his life, because it's not something that he really wants to see again. In 2006, the movie Behind the Mask, directed by Scott Gosserman, came out, and I did in fact see it in the theater. Yay me! Woo!
Did you really?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And this movie is basically a horror fan's, it's their comedy. It's their comedy. The story is about a man who, in this particular reality, Freddy Krueger, Jason, any of the supernatural slasher killers are actually real. And Leslie Vernon is the character's name. He wants to be one of them. So he's basically setting up how he's going to make a name for himself. So he's got a whole thing set up in a barn where there's going to be teenagers there, probably having sex, and he's going to go on a killing rampage, blah, 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 blah. Okay.
Right.
Well, they are there with a filming crew, and because it's in documentary form. It's kind of like The Office type, mockumentary situation.
Yeah, it reminds me of Man Bites Dog.
Yes, yeah. Which I've seen once because I hated it. So, the movie is comical. It's got a lot of Easter eggs in it, which I loved personally. It also has the man himself, Robert Englund. Yes, the man. It's obviously funny because they're talking about Freddy Krueger as if he's a real person, and then you have the man who plays Freddy Krueger, but he's not playing him in the movie. Zelda Rubinstein, who you know as Tangina in the original Poltergeist, also makes an appearance in this movie. So it has two of my favorite people from two of my favorite horror movies in it, which, of course, is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't want to give away a lot to this movie. Once again, we don't like doing that. We don't like spoiling it for people. So if you haven't seen it, definitely see it. Apparently, there's supposed to be a follow-up that's coming up in 2025. And I know little to nothing about it. I only found out about this because I happened to be looking into the movie when I was doing my notes and everything, because I'm a dork. But I thought that was interesting, and it is a movie that could do this, because once you see it, you'll see why. I don't want to once again say it, but it definitely could happen.
Yeah, and I will say I did enjoy this movie. I mean, granted, yes, I've only watched it once, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was clever. And I think that's the problem to me with some of these other things, like Scary Movie, is to me that's not clever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're going to do humor, like, it either needs to be very clever or... I don't know. It's hard for me to explain.
Not to be so obvious.
Yeah, exactly.
It needs to be more subtle.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
Shaun of the Dead has a lot of Easter eggs in it, and of course is, a horror fan's wet dream.
Right.
When it comes to zombie movies.
Yes.
So it definitely...
Which is why I like that movie.
Yeah, definitely love that movie. Saw that in the theater too, because I'm special. So, but yeah, Behind the Mask. Definitely check it out. It is a great movie, and I'm very excited to see what they come up with next for it.
Yes, absolutely.
The next movie I'm going to talk about is Student Bodies, that came out in 1981. It was directed by two different people, Mickey Rose and Michael Ritchie. So I'm not sure why they needed two very for it. If you saw it or you know what I'm talking about, there's really no need for that. When I first saw this movie, I was in junior high school, and I was just starting to come into my own world of horror, and I, went and saw Candyman in the theater, and I was just so excited, and my friend's like, hey, have you ever seen this movie, Student Bodies? And it was very shocking that the family even owned this because of the religious group they were part of. It was a little weird, and so I thought, oh, it's gonna be lame. It is not. I mean, well, it's lame in its own sense, but not lame in the, it's like the Care Bears. It wasn't like that or anything. This movie is making fun of slasher films. Definitely Halloween and Friday the 13th for sure. Freddy, he's in your face. You see him all the time. But the other ones, it's kind of just like a creepy follower, and their creepy follower in it is the Breather. And his breathing in this is so comical and winded. And he discusses this as he's following things like, I hate stairs. It's just so funny to me. So he's following around teenagers, and they're getting killed off one by one in incredibly humorous ways. The man has a choice of weapons at one point, and I mean a wide variety of weapons, and he chooses a paperclip. This is hilarious to me. This movie is basically the horror movie for people who like movies like Airplane. So as the movie goes on, there's a body count that they flash on the screen for you, so you could keep track of it and just bring out just general points to you. And I don't know. It's just funny. It's funny. Now, the copy I have is bootleg because it wasn't in print when I wanted it. Not because I'm a bad person. Don't take me to jail. But, so as a result, the quality is crap. And I want the Blu-ray, but it's too late to tell Santa that. So it might just have to happen later on. But, one of the characters that is in this movie is the janitor. Now, the janitor to me is probably the most memorable character out of all of the characters. The janitor plays a role, and his name in it is Melbert, which I've never even heard of that name before. And he's this tall, lanky, dorky kind of guy. Reminds me a little bit of Josh. But Melbert's ugly and gross. So, but this man, his stage name is actually The Stick because of how weird he looks. And unfortunately, he passed away from just regular old heart failure. But they don't even mention him on IMDb, which is really weird to me because he's got some of the best lines in this movie. But this movie has some great humor as far as just childish fart jokes, which we're a fan of fart jokes in this house. So it's got fart jokes. It's got obviously stupid killings. I mean, because of the year it was made, some of it's a little bit questionable these days as things that they say, but what isn't, you know, kind of just have to go, oh, that sucks, and just keep going.
Yep.
But the movie is great. I definitely recommend this for anybody who just needs to not care about something for an hour and a half or however long this movie is. It's not very long. I was able to eat some lunch and take some notes, and it was over with. So, but what do you remember from it?
I would say I don't find it to be a great movie, but I would say that what impresses me about it is the timeliness of it. Because if it came out in 1981, you're right at the ground floor of slasher movies, really. Mm-hmm. Because really at that point, you only really had Halloween, Black Christmas, Friday the 13th. Yeah, I think that's what impresses me the most about this movie is that they got right in on the ground floor of, they saw it as an emerging trend, even though it had only been a couple of years worth of slasher movies at this point, and started making fun of it. So I think that's pretty cool, actually. It
is, and it's a movie that could be made again these days and still be comical. It still would be relevant to the slasher films. They were ahead of their time. This could have been a far more successful movie if people had seen that humor. I mean, movies like Airplane were made prior to that. But I still think it was a new type of humor.
Right. And you know, maybe that's the reason why it didn't do as well, is because being on the ground floor like that, those tropes weren't as ingrained into popular culture yet.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think so. And I think if they had waited maybe just 4 or 5 more years, and it probably would have done really, really well.
Yeah.
So if you're childish like me and you like stupid humor, definitely check out Student Bodies. The last, though, we'll talk about what Josh hates. Scary movies. The franchise.
Yeah, you'll have to explain to me the appeal because I don't get it. Like, I mean, granted, I will admit that I have never seen any of them in their entirety. I've never seen a single one of those movies in their entirety. But having seen the little bits and pieces that I have seen, I don't get it. I don't understand the appeal of it.
Okay, folks. So there was 5 of these movies. I'm going to read this because I'm old and I don't remember things. So the first 2 were directed by Keenan Ivory Wayans, who created In Living Color, if we all remember In Living Color, which was fantastic. The 3rd and 4th was directed by David Zucker, who did Airplane. Yay! And Naked Gun, and apparently Basketball too, which I never paid attention to, but also love that movie, which I don't think Josh cares for.
No, I had to see that in the theater and I would have walked out if it had been up to me, but I was with a group of people that drugged me to see it.
Party pooper. Anyway, and then the 5th one was directed by Malcolm D. Lee, and he did a movie, Undercover Brother, and a couple other movies that I've never actually seen. But either way, the appeal of these movies is it's the same humor that is in Airplane, Spaceballs, Naked Gun. It's the same exact humor. This movie brings in parodies based on Scream, The Ring, House on Haunted Hill, The Blair Witch Project, all the above. And I have to say there's a couple characters that I really like. But the one that's my favorite is the guy who plays the butler in the House on Haunted Hill parody, portion of the movie. I can't remember which one it is. Sorry. I think it's 3. Josh will put it at the bottom of the screen here.
Sure.
It was played by Chris Elliott, and he comes out as the butler serving a turkey and mashed potatoes, and he's got this tiny little weird hand, and he's serving the mashed potatoes with that hand, and it's a regular hand, and then also this.
Right.
So it's just making fun of those things. It is gross humor. It is childish and stupid. But oh my gosh, I don't know why I watch them so often, but if they are on, I will watch them. And I didn't really care about them when they first came out. I didn't go see these in the theater. I didn't, it was an HBO situation. Yeah. Thanks again, HBO. And they just make me laugh because they're so stupid and they're making fun of these movies. So in that sense, that's the humor in it, is that it's making fun of these movies that we've watched and pointing out just the ridiculousness of some of them.
Right.
There's an amazing scene. I think it's probably the first one, maybe. Once again, bottom of the screen. That if you remember in Scream, she was kind of a tease, and they finally did it at the end of the movie. Well, that's being made fun of in this, and it's gross. I won't tell you what it is, but it's gross. But it's hilarious too at the same time. So I think that with horror movies, having parodies is important, to bring light to some of the ridiculous portions of these movies that we're just like, what? And we talk about these movies already. We're always, we just talked about Black Christmas and how, like, why did she go back in?
Right.
The officer called and said, and he was dumb.
Yeah.
But he called and said, don't do it.
Right.
Get out of the house. And she still did it.
Yeah.
And no. So it's stuff like that in these other movies that they made fun of that it's like, why? And you have to just bring humor to it. And so it just didn't appeal to me, but I've been watching movies like Airplane and Spaceballs and all those since I was really little because my uncle loved them.
Right.
They were always on.
Whereas I grew up with a different kind of cheese.
Yes.
I grew up with Godzilla movies and stuff like that,
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of Airplane happening in my house, but there was a lot of monster movies, which is funny in a different way, It
is. But yeah, the family doesn't like comedy as much. I don't know. It's weird.
Well, I'll tell you, my grandma used to say, I only watch shows where people get murdered.
I wish I could have met that woman.
I think that's been the credo of our family ever since.
That's pretty good. So we wanted, like I said, we wanted to put these movies out there for you because we know that this is a stressful time of the year, and basically everything's come to a head at Christmas Day when we put this out, and you're gonna need some comic relief at that point.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Even with our 3-person family together here every year, it can be stressful. So, we definitely, we need comic relief just as much as anybody else. It's not a huge episode today. We're not talking about anything super in depth. We just thought we'd bring up a couple of these because I think they're funny. And I think that they deserve some discussion.
Yeah, and I wanted to play devil's advocate on this one, so...
He likes doing that on a daily basis. That's his sense of humor. So, anyway, is there other horror parodies that you like? We want to know.
Yes, especially if you can recommend any for skeptics like myself.
Yes.
That would be ideal.
Yes, absolutely. So, other than that, we want to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Merry Christmas time. Happy holidays. We'll link to that as well.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, thanks, Katya. And we will be back next week on New Year's Day.
Oh, yeah.
We also have another special little surprise that's going to come out next week sometime as well.
Yes.
But yeah, we look forward to continuing to go on here. I mean, we're on episode 8.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, wow.
Yes.
Wow. We need more subscribers.
Yes,
though.
don't forget to like and subscribe, as the kids say. Be sure to like and share if you like to like things to like and share.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.